Here's a story. I was on the street next to those guys who were obviously not addicts. Well, I'm 99% sure they were actually dealers. They looked good in their fancy clothes and everything, watches, latest iPhones, all that stuff, clearly well-off guys. We started talking and they asked me what I was up to. I was like, just filming, and asked them back. The answer was, we ask the questions here, we don't answer them. Sorry, man. I was like, okay, just tell me, is it safe here? He looked me in the eye and said, do you feel safe here? I said, I felt quite safe and comfy. He said, you see, you're capable of answering questions, so we only have to ask them. That was one of a tough conversation. Hello, my friends. I'm in Vancouver. Almost every day someone dies of OD right here, a couple of blocks away from downtown. Yes, right on the street. It's not some third world slums, it's Vancouver, a very large and rich city within the prosperous country of Canada, which is the 5th educated country in the world with high quality of life. It should be a perfect country, but the problem of drugs in Canada is appalling. Within the last 10 years, more than 50,000 Canadian people died of OD. Just imagine, almost a third as many died in car crashes within the same period. Only 18,500. The main Canadian killer is called fentanyl, a synthetic opiate much more dangerous than heroin. In Canada, it's no longer just an outcast's problem. The crisis affects each level of society. It's getting so widespread that it's called a national security threat. Here's an old lady. Is she after some too? No, she's after bread. The officers are simply watching the demolition. And those two guys are using something right here.
And so around for Christmas, I sent every politician in the British Columbia Parliament 1 gram of mushrooms.
How does Canada fight the disaster? The officials hand out trusted drugs. No kidding. The government widely decriminalizes drugs and applies the Safe Supply program. Addicts keep on using stuff under close observation of doctors. There are special facilities for injecting, snuffing, and swallowing. It's better than squalid nooks, you know. That's what the video is about. I'll talk to victims, safe supply managers, and those who think you can't take drugs too seriously. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's where I publish my new travel videos. And please click like below the video. It's gonna be one of a journey. I left my hotel and wanted to say, look at how clean, neat, and tidy the street is. But at once I spotted several homeless people lying on the subway air vents. Judging by the way they look, they're addicts. You see, they're butt naked and everything. In the very center of the city, where people come to enjoy the beauty, something went seriously wrong. Sleeping addicts on the downtown streets are the first thing you notice in Vancouver. Right from the very beginning, you realize how crucial the problem is. Here's a typical sight of the downtown, a woman standing in a rather peculiar pose, seemingly rummaging in her bag. She's been standing like this for 10 minutes, like a zombie. It's called nodding off, when the opioid effect overwhelms you and you nod off right where you are. Vancouver is a rather diverse city. Say you walk along the street and see a pleasant and tidy picture. The sidewalk is shampooed, every single nook looks immaculate. The street is nice and clean. It seems a safe and secure modern city. But try strolling a few blocks away. You'll witness the hell of a nightmare. Orange cloak, syringe, and precise movements, and you're down on a filthy cardboard. The wall in Vancouver downtown fits both youngsters and elderly people. City workers seem to brush the streets clean to make the addicts feel better. I went a few meters farther. And here's another addict. The guy has a whole range of in his box. They're choosing what to use today. Take a look around. Everything looks fine and neat. Here's a police car driving by. A couple of steps away, and here's a guy feeling good or bad, it depends. My friends, I'm in the center of Canadian havoc. It's downtown East Side, a rather notorious neighborhood. Only 3% of Vancouver population live here. The neighborhood takes only 2% of the city, but 1/3 of Vancouver's violent crimes take place here, in downtown East Side. Well, you can't exactly call Canada a safe country. From 2014 to 2024, the number of violent crimes increased from 301 to 434 per 100,000 people. The number of murders increased from 1.5 to 2.3. In US, the number increased from 5.5 to 5.8 within the same period. Addiction is one of the main reasons for the raise. Many robbers and thieves are those in need of cash during withdrawals. I'm in the center of Vancouver. Here are people taking shots and using stuff. It feels dodgy just to walk around. It's been shitty. I'm not sure about shooting my video here. All of the streets are filled with addicts, but it's not the worst part yet. I'll show it to you later. The back streets are packed with zombies. That's what they look like. Looks fucking shithole. This part of the street is for users. Those guys in orange vests are volunteers. Their job is to prevent people from dying, but not from using. They simply watch the process and fix vital signs. The guy's the store owner, and he's like, "Get out of my store entrance. You make a mess and scare off my clients. Stop lying around." But what's shocking me is the market of stolen stuff. The addicts either sell some old they found in trash bins or stolen stuff like food or chocolate. Even laundry detergent. Police officers have just arrived, together with street workers. They're demolishing the tent because it's not allowed in daytime. It's legal at night, but not allowed in daytime. They negotiate with the owners with the help of the officers. All they want is to demolish the tent. I'm not sure about negotiating with the addicts, but the officers look rather confident and say they'll deal with it. The officers are simply watching the demolition, and those two guys are using something right here. I don't know if it's or fentanyl, it's something they're using right in front of the officers, no worries. That's how it looks like. Here's what they call the scariest crossroad in Vancouver. Again, you can see addicts sitting all around the place. Downtown Eastside is the heart of Vancouver. The place was hosting the tough history of Vancouver. The heyday of downtown Eastside began in the early 20th century. The grand opening of the Woodward store and the Pantages Theater turned it into the commercial and cultural heart of the city. Its streets were bubbling with zeal. After World War II, the center point moved to downtown, and Eastside gradually dilapidated. Old hotels were turned into cheap dwellings. This led to single-room occupancy, or SRO. These were rooms without facilities, namely dorms, the only hope for those in need. Today, downtown Eastside is a patchwork of diversity. Shabby SROs stand alongside historic fronts and fresh condos, where a small studio costs from 500,000 Canadian dollars and more. Downtown Eastside is gradually changing. Old buildings are being repaired, new municipal houses are being built, social programs are being launched. Step by step, downtown Eastside tries to find a balance among the memories of its grand past, sore social problems, and attempts to create a safer future for its citizens. Let me show you the diversity. Here's a fancy condo with a penthouse or a terrace up there. Someone's washing the balcony window. Overall, it looks grand and expensive. You can even lease a store down here. Everything's fine. But as soon as you turn the corner, you see an awful, filthy and smelly back street full of addicts and trash. As you can see, the place is terrible. They're staggering in there like zombies. That's one of a wistful sight. Here's a sidewalk and what it looks like. They get food over here. I see they even get raspberries. One of a decent meal. Here are those who don't need food. Here's another place for handing out meal and for fun events. Everyone's shooting up. Here's an episode from Vancouver addict's life. A girl's brushing her hair. Another one can't keep her feet and falls down. And here's their friend rummaging in the bag in search of shot. Vancouver addicts have several ways of obtaining jolts. Some of them can make dealers rich worldwide. While I'm in search of a delicious cup of coffee, let's see how they sell drugs in here. There are three ways. The first one is direct selling in clubs through friends, mates, and street dealers. They have it here in plenty. The second way is through darknet. Nothing unusual. Even if you don't use drugs, I'm sure you're familiar with stashes and droppers or with crypto purchases. Sadly, the same old problems fully exist in Canada. It's a huge billion-dollar worth market. Here's a guy shooting up surrounded with his junk. Unbelievable. Billions of dollars pass through the country. Of course, it's hard to trace it all. There's a third way, which is also rather popular with youngsters, namely messengers, WhatsApp, Instagram, private chats. Except for the first way, all them are clearly rather hard to trace. That's why it can be tough for the officials to fight the dealing.
I shot this frame on my last trip to Mexico, and this one was entirely generated by a neural network. As you can see, the differences are minimal. AI has finally reached the level of generating video in true 4K. Now you can easily use these videos in your own edits. The image looks completely real. Of course, I'm still going to hunt for beautiful shots, but now I have a great safety net. If your drone battery dies, if the location is closed, if the weather turns bad, or if the budget just doesn't allow you to shoot the scene the way you wanted, all of these problems can now be solved in literally just a few minutes in Higgsfield Seedance 2.0. Why them? First, the videos are generated in true 4K from the start. It's not an upscaled result after generation. It's genuine native 4K. That means the details stay crisp, even in fast-moving shots. Second, you can generate multi-shot scenes right away without any additional editing. And creating the exact shot you want is easy thanks to reference images. For example, I have this photo I took in Madeira, but I never had a chance to film a video there. Using that image as a reference, I was able to generate a video that captured all the important details: the lighting, colors, mood, and overall style. On top of that, the team fixed one of the biggest pain points in AI video generation. If you're creating a longer story, your character's appearance stays consistent from shot to shot instead of changing randomly. Their movements look natural too. It also comes with built-in voiceovers, music, sound effects.
Wait, the Lost Chamber? It's real!
Whoa! Multilingual lip sync and direct exports with no watermarks. This is AI video generation at its finest. If you want to try it for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description and the pinned comment.
But it's ended up fine. We bid our farewell and went our own ways. There are lots of stores here, and all of them sell smoking pipes. What would an addict need? Cash, a glass pipe or whatever they call it, and of course chocolate bars and some water to make your life feel better. There are rows of such stores, working mainly for the addict. That's what's going on in seemingly prosperous Canada. How come? The problem's been here for decades. It all started with heroin. Back then, that was the city's plague. That's the Cambie Bridge next to downtown East Side. Back in 1990s, its premises were the center of heroin crisis. Homeless people, drugs, needles, and ODs. People came here not for a cup of coffee, but for China White, super potent and cheap heroin, a tainted one mixed with fentanyl. The stuff was so potent, one jolt could be deadly. The name's origin is unclear, but it has nothing to do with China. In 1993, more than 300 people died of China White OD in Vancouver. It's cheap and gets you high easily. That's the reason for its popularity. I guess downtown East Side was not only the most dangerous, but also the stinkiest Canada's neighborhood. Behind the attics on Vancouver streets, the benefits of the city are barely noticeable. You look at the fancy Chaumet shop window and see a guy with his pants off, two poles of one street. The citizens' blank faces are appalling. No one either kicks them away or even pays attention to them. They became a part of the city. The people I saw on the streets, most likely, are not addicts. The main problem about Canada 2025 is synthetic and prescription drugs that flooded the streets some decades ago. The rate of lethal ODs in Canada rose sharply in the 90s when drugstores started selling OxyContin. It's a prescription painkiller containing opioids. OxyContin quickly became a popular drug among youngsters. By 2025, more than 70,000 Canadians under 30 were addicted to painkillers. In 2012, OxyContin was removed from the market, in fact replaced with Oxy-NEO. It has a different chemical formula and the pills are harder to smash or dissolve, not so easy to use inappropriately. But addicts are still here. They searched for replacement and found it. It was much more obtainable. A couple of years later, fentanyl entered the picture. It has been there since late 1980s as a potent medical painkiller. Back then, it was used as a drug now and then, but not so often. It got widely spread after the OxyContin amendment in 2014. It turned out cheap, potent, and concentrated. A dozen times more potent than morphine. It quickly became the main street drug and caused a mass of deaths. Both drugs are terrible, but is much more deadly. 2 milligrams of it are enough to kill. By comparison, a deadly dose of heroin is from 75 to 150 milligrams, depending on the weight and state of health. In case of OD, death can occur within seconds. But with heroin OD, it takes several minutes, enough for the ambulance to arrive. It's been the main plague of Canada recently. How has flooded Vancouver's streets? Travis Lupik, a journalist, will help me find the answer. He's been into the issue for many years.
On the supply side, the dealer side, are very different. Heroin is expensive and difficult to produce. You need to cultivate a poppy field. You need to own a farm. You don't need to own a farm. You don't need to pay seasonal labor. You can just order the precursor chemicals over the dark web. They send them over in the regular postal system, the government's postal system. Send them over from China to Vancouver.
It's one of the world's most potent opioids. Even several grains of it can appear deadly. It was first produced in the 1960s for medical usage, say, to alleviate severe cancer pains. Today, plenty of lethal cases occur due to the usage of illegal people purchase it illegally and mix it with other drugs. Often, they're not even aware of what they use. Is widely mixed with heroin, and various pills to intensify the effects, which makes it the main reason for ODs, both in Canada and US. The effect of is rather fast. In a couple of minutes, the breath slows down or stops completely, your brain stops sending signals to breathe, your oxygen level drops down, which affects your heart and brain. For people who are not used to the lethal dose is just 2 milligrams, namely a couple of grains. If you take some other staph with that or have health issues, the OD risk gets even higher. Deborah Bailey lost her adopted daughter to drugs. She adopted Olia in Russia at the age of 3.5 years. She looked shy on photos, but turned out a merry and lively kid. She started having issues as a teen because of her orphan childhood. Her environment inevitably worsened them.
She tried drinking, didn't like it. She tried She didn't like it. And she started to leave home for like maybe a week at a time, and we wouldn't be able to find her. And this started a real pattern. And what she was doing was, hanging out with people, who knows where they were, who knows where they lived. And I spent many hours and drove many miles on my car, searching for her. And sometimes I'd find her in the oddest of places, in the bush or somebody's house or all over the place.
By the age of 15, Olia was addicted to both and her attempts to quit treatment and moves were in vain. Her addiction persisted. Drugs took over her entire life. Neither family support nor any efforts could save her then. Olia died of OD. She was 21 years old.
December of 2015, she went shopping, and her dad dropped her off Christmas shopping at a store and said, have a nice time, stay away from the bad people. She goes, oh, Dad, I'm going Christmas shopping. But in fact, that was the last we saw of her. She was found a couple days later in an apartment building for people in the downtown east side. And there had been somebody with her, but he'd left her there, either dead or dying or in distress, and just run out the back door. And the police investigated it a lot at that time because they weren't sure, if it was a homicide or not, but it was, the coroner ruled, accidental. And, even though you know that your kid is so at risk, them actually doing that is horrible, because you always have hope, maybe this time, maybe that time, but once they've died, there is no hope. So then I got mad, and I started to do a lot of advocating, because there had been some things that were really wrong about the way our systems in Canada treat people who are addicted or using, and that's what I'm still doing today.
Deborah Bailey is a member of Moms Stop the Harm organization. She advocates supporting of families and fighting the consequences of addiction. The members march along the streets with signs attracting attention to the issues their kids and folk have to deal with.
In fact, the number of people who are dying are mostly young men in transportation or trades between the ages of, I think it's like 18 to, 40. They work, they have a home, and they die at home. So it's way more common than we think. And I think it was a shock for Canadians to find out it's kids like these, people like those that are dying. And there's so much stigma or like rejection of people who use drugs, and that we just don't want to encounter it, that kind of thing. How common is it? I think in British Columbia, it's estimated that there are 250,000 people who use drugs. And so that's a fair number. And the people who have died have been police, university professors, teachers, all kinds of tradespeople, young people. And I think we were all surprised as to who it was, because we thought, it's the people in what we call the downtown east side. But we didn't know that actually those folks are sick at every level. Interestingly enough, though, alcoholism runs at the rate of about, 10 to 15% of the population. And so does addiction to drugs. So we've come to the belief that there's something biological going on, that they didn't get hooked in Ola just because she had been rejected. They seem to get hooked in them when there's a family connection of some kind that also had addiction trouble. Kids with ADHD, attention deficit, also seem to be more at risk, or learning disabilities, that kind of thing.
Within the last decade, nearly 53,000 Canadians died of OD. By 2024, the rate went down a little, but it's still crucial. Nearly 8,000 victims a year, around 20 deceased a day, all around the country. Canada ranks second after US in terms of deaths. It's 2.5 addiction cases per 100 people. Allegedly, from 600,000 to 1 million Canadians use illegal regularly. British Columbia, including Vancouver, is currently the hot zone. 10 years back, a half of samples already contained. In 2018, was the cause of half the deaths in the region. It were Vancouver officials who declared an emergency first. Is literally a national security risk. It may sound ludicrous, but the police don't really seem to care about what's happening on the streets. It looks like the officials encourage mass consumption. I met Katya and Sasha in downtown Vancouver. They've been here for several years and know places where Vancouver addicts reside. One of them is called Oppenheimer Park. That's what it looks like. That's an amazing park. full of homeless and addicts, and Canadian geese. Like many downtown streets of Vancouver, the park looks like a large den. Signs saying, "Please clean up after your dog" look ridiculous in here. You know, dog is the most harmless thing that can happen in here. People are lying around. It's not about hot weather and folks suntanning during their lunch break, showing their butts, taking their pants off. Great fun.
You know, it's rather neat and tidy right now. During the pandemic, the park was filled with tents. It was turned into a tent cap, full of dubious people. The park was well known for its residents who wouldn't leave. Chasing them out took several months and plenty of policemen. After that, the park was closed. It took a year to clean away the mess. Then it was reopened. They even put up a playground over there. Shelter residents come here to have a rest from time to time.
There's a guy behind you showing his private parts. That's a peculiar way of having fun.
For peculiar people, the police don't really care about addicts. They just drive around and watch. If a crime occurred, they come up fast and arrest the offender. They shove them in the car, talk and sort things out. In a couple of hours, they let them go. You won't get into jail here. You have to commit a terrible crime to get there.
How much can you steal?
If the damage is up to $300-600, the police won't take it. Someone stole my phone on the playground. I filed a police report, but they didn't even answer it.
Do you feel safe in Vancouver?
In general, yes. But it doesn't mean carelessness. Better safe than sorry, you know. You can't be too careful.
Several minutes walk in downtown, and here's an empty back street. It already looks unusual to me. We were wondering why the back street looks so safe. The answer is because of the police station. My friends, firstly, I have to tell you, it stinks of shit and urine. Local addicts use the place as a free toilet. Here's a police station with police cars parked around, and over there are addicts crapping and using drugs. The streets flooded with addicts don't mean the officials let things slide. All those people are still living due to their efforts in fighting the epidemic. You may call it the first result. In the 90s, when especially popular and the number of death cases was extremely high, the officials tried using police methods. In the 90s, the officials applied the strategy called 4 pillars, namely harm reduction, prevention, treatment, and enforcement. The strategy proved itself ineffective. Patrolling and arrests took almost all the budget. People had limited access to treatment. The coordination among those 4 pillars was also rather lame. The rate of deaths from crack and was reduced in general, but the officials eventually chose a different way of action. They might remember their past mistakes and stopped spending efforts and money on patrolling and arrests. No, they mainly control the consumption. When it became clear the deaths can't be stopped with customary methods, the government of both Vancouver and British Columbia launched a drastic experiment. My friends, here's a facility called Insight. It's the first North America's sanctioned supervised consumption site. Anyone can bring their shot and use it under medical supervision. They don't hand out drugs here, just help avoid OD and provide medical assistance. There's the Safe Supply program with similar principles. Its pilot project was launched in Canada in 2017. Since 2020, it's been operating in British Columbia. It's a kind of drastic form of replacement therapy. They legally supply addicted people with secure instead of street and the program doesn't treat addiction directly, but at least helps avoid OD and infections. Maintenance treatment has been widely used lately. During that, patients get meth instead of hard drugs. That's still but in controlled doses and under medical supervision, the doses being gradually reduced and patients overcome their addiction step by step. The WHO included meth into the list of essential medicines, but advocates of more direct methods keep criticizing replacement therapy. Canadians went to even greater lengths. Their main problem is the high death rate, so the program is aiming mainly at life-saving. In the Safe Supply program, patients get their in clinics, drugstores, hospitals, and supervised drug injection sites. There are more than 30 sites in Canada. You get it, you use it, you keep living. They also provide counseling, testing, or even treatment for hepatitis C and help with housing and work. Since April 2023, federal officials had spent more than 100 million Canadian dollars to Safe Supply program. No one knows exactly how it will affect people some years later. British Columbia doesn't provide any data concerning their long-term goals or the participants' following state of health. Does anyone even keep records? So there's no certainty the program really helps people overcome their addiction. Dr. Mark Tyndall is one of the Insight's founders.
Insights are really useful for prevent overdose or to reverse overdoses. It's also really been useful to connect people with care, so people can come in there, they make relationships with the staff, and the staff can refer them on to other services. So that's the main purpose of Insight.
Dr. Tyndall admits the number of people who went through his program is almost impossible to calculate. He used to manage another program providing addicts with medicinal drugs automatically. They installed machines using biometry to hand out drugs, but in the end, only 240 patients got their medically administered dose. However, people getting extra dangerous drugs and not controlling their dose are not the main problem here.
The fact that the still out there, it's difficult to get people to exclusively use the safe. So people were still, accessing, had the attraction that it was more potent. So when we say that, the reason people are dying is because it's too potent, most people are using drugs want to get as much as they can without overdosing. So there's a fine line, like people who use alcohol or any other drug. If people are looking for certain effects, they want higher doses, and so it's like that with drugs also.
I'm not sure about what's happening at supervised injection sites. They must use stuff legally over there with medical supervision and everything. All I can see is people shooting up on the streets and never really caring. Full of stuff and everything. Vancouver officials provided all the necessary facilities for them. They put up spots of comfort all around the city. Here's one of them, and another one. A police car is parked right over there, next to the benches with addicts enjoying themselves on them. A bunch of people are shooting up right here, right now. There's an alley for shooting up. Here's an old lady. Is she after some drugs too? No, she's after bread. Here are not so old ladies who have already used something and feeling good or bad, can't really tell. Here's a women's center. And again, here's the entrance to the center. And here are the women who've just shot something up and are out. There are lots of officers around. But as everything's legal here, no one really cares. We asked an officer for a permission to walk around and film. The answer was, sure, it's a free country. Some are filming, some are injecting. Here's a weed stall. I guess it's the most harmless spot here. A weed stall. Do they hand out free? Yeah. Here's an amazing brochure. Let's stop ODs and everything. So they just hand out free for everyone. It says they hand out nearly 200 doses of every day. They treat people who use fentanyl by giving them instead. Allegedly, it prevents ODs. I'm not sure it works. If someone started using fentanyl, I'm not sure a pack of free weed saves them. I've never seen such stalls where they hand out free packs of drugs to anyone in need. I came up to the window to ask something and faced a hand with 2 joints like, take your stuff and off. Everything's free! Isn't it an addict's paradise? Talking about the stall guys. They boast about their awesome replacement therapy and complain about using the trailer for handing out stuff. But they say they've submitted a request with the Ministry of Health to supply people with drugs more widely. I tried filming the insides, but they didn't allow me. All I saw was the bags full of weed. The girl was handing out joints and the older guy was sitting there preparing those joints, crushing weed, rolling joints, and they hand them out freely. They didn't even ask if I needed it. You walk along the street with weed thrown in your face to make you feel better. It seems not everyone reaches the weed stall. This guy must have used something extra potent before he even got his joint. Here's another amazing place, the Providence Crosstown Clinic, where you can legally get a shot of. They say if you're addicted and can't overcome it, you can come to such facility to get a shot of medical. The only difference between medical and regular is allegedly less severe addiction. Here you don't catch any disease and use only sterile syringes. You get your shot under medical supervision and simply leave. As I'm not allowed to film inside, I ask them about their work. They get around 150 patients daily. To become their patient, you need a prescription for. You should come with it in hand. By the way, they allow people to use this way under medical supervision not only in Canada, but in some European countries too. From streets flooded with addicts to injection sites, all these are the implementation of Canada's politics. The country chose the strategy of harm reduction. The main point is, you can't eradicate use, but you can control it. Dr. Mark Tyndall is one of those who adhere to the strategy.
I mean, it's right from the very beginning it was controversial. So you take a very small portion of our population, maybe, 5% or less, that are, heavily into drug use. We don't want to see that. People just want to get rid of it. We just wish it wasn't happening. So the people that are very against any kind of harm reduction or reaching out to people aren't impacted by this at all. They just see drugs as a terrible thing for society, that people are, doing terrible and killing themselves, and why would we allow this to happen? There's a very strong prohibitionist thing, and that's why we have a war on drugs. We spend all our time and effort trying to destroy cartels, try to intercept drugs and punish people who are using drugs over and over, and obviously that doesn't work.
I'm on my way to a facility known as Get Your Drugs Tested. It's a lab where anyone can bring their substance to test its ingredients. When you buy some unknown stuff from a street dealer, you can easily get something you didn't expect. And are often mixed with some stuff like or some other type of mixed with heat, It may sound weird, but still, those are the issues of drug users. Anyone can come to the center and get their substance tested in a couple of minutes top. If you don't want to go, you may send your stuff by mail in an envelope. They will test it and send you the data online. It's a private facility. I'm going to talk to someone who had coined and launched it. Besides the site for testing, he owns several stores selling mushrooms and various substances.
Something's in there at a really small level, we can't always tell what it is. There's sometimes we can put into the family, but like telling from car or something can be very challenging, or analogs of that are very similar. But it does give you a lot of information, right? But it's not perfect, there are limits. And we use test strips as well, because sometimes can be in there at a very, very low level where the machine won't pick it up, but it can still have a strong effect. And so we use test strips for fentanyl and for benzodiazepines and things like that.
As you can see, that was like not even half of what they give. Producers of tend to give very large samples. Sure, there's a good mix. So that's a good match for parafluoride.
A busy day, we could do up to 100 samples. Overall, we've tested, I think, over 90,000 samples now since we opened. And we put all those results on our website in a searchable database at getyourtested.com, so anybody can go and look at all the samples and analyze and also see like trends and do searches and that kind of thing to find out information. Yeah, on a busy day, we'll be doing over 100 samples. We're the busiest place like this in the world, and certainly the only one that is not sponsored by a government and getting money from some kind of legal authority. This is all paid for by ourselves.
A dealer come here.
Oh, they do, absolutely. And that's a good thing, right? I mean, dealers, most of them want to sell quality drugs to their customers. They're not some people maybe don't care, but anybody who's serious about being a good dealer, they want to sell good drugs. They want repeat clients. They don't want to harm their clients, especially with psychedelics and things like that. We actually have a limit. We'll test 4 samples for free. If you're bringing more than 4 samples at a time, we normally charge $10 per sample after that. If there's a reason, we might give you a pass or not do that, but normally, and that's because sometimes people come in with 20 samples that they're getting analyzed, and that's a dealer we don't ask them why they're testing it, and it doesn't matter to us if you're a dealer or a user or whatever. We'll test anything anybody brings in.
Dana Larsen owns a shop only a couple of blocks away from his lab. The shop operates openly. The police raid it regularly and seize the goods, but Mr. Larsen considers his business legal. After police raids, he makes new purchases and keeps on selling openly. I visited his shop to check up the stock.
Growing is legal.
No. Mostly everything we do here is illegal.
How it works?
We have been raided. Well, we have very good lawyers. We live in a city where it's a city police force. Most of Canada's got the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, but we have Vancouver police only. So they're a bit more responsive to the community. People in Vancouver don't want us to get raided, and that helps make their decision. But they have raided us twice. I spent 9 hours in jail the first time. Second time, they didn't arrest me personally, but I was released with no charges. Why they don't charge me, I'm not totally sure, but we have very good lawyers. There's a lot of good cases about medical use of mushrooms, and there are a lot of Canadians who have legal rights to mushrooms. It's very likely if they did charge me for selling mushrooms that we would win, and it would become more open like it happened with
This is mushroom showing.
and every other shop in Vancouver is got a license and is legal, but my shops are the last ones that operate outside the legal system. So we're still doing it the way we were doing it when we opened in 2008. And if you told me 7 years after legal, you're still gonna have the illegal shops and still be doing it the old way, I wouldn't have believed you, right? That would seem weird, but here we are, 7 years after legalization. We are the medicinal cannabis dispensary. Legacy old school, the last remaining, right? This is us, legacy old school, the last remaining one. This
Police?
Yeah, this is we've been raided here twice, right? So every October 2023, October 2024, now it's October 2025. We'll see if they come back this month or not. But yeah, they don't, this doesn't stop the police, right? So they break that open when they come. So we don't keep as much in here anymore because of that. This is where we keep some of our stuff. So this is a strain. These are nice mushrooms. You can see the different kinds, how they look very different from each other, right? I mean, these are both similar effects, but very different appearance, very different strains. This one is a Mexican strain. This one is called Mac Shack. So it's like a Kill Gorilla Cross or whatever, right? So, but you see how they look quite a bit different from each other, and I can show you some other ones.
Mr. Larsen's shops get raided often. They even got closed a couple of times. As a protest, he sent his illegal mushrooms straight to the government office. He neither hid nor tried selling them. He put them right in front of their eyes.
In 2023, we got raided in the end of October was the first big raid, and the police come and take all of our stuff, and I wanted to protest against that. And so around for Christmas, I sent every politician in the British Columbia Parliament 1 gram of mushrooms and 1 coca leaf from the coca plant, which you make But the coca leaf, you chew coca leaf, it's pretty mild, it's got a lot of cultural relevance. And I sent a letter saying, like, why are you raiding us? We help a lot of people. You should come to my shop and meet our customers. Most of our customers are using mushrooms for medical benefits. They're regular people, they're young, they're old, they're employed, they're people seeking help. And also kind of making a point. And some of them kind of laughed it off. That's just Dana being Dana. Some of them were opening the packages with the rubber gloves on and terrified of seeing this 1 gram of mushrooms in their hand. But it's just kind of a way of pushing back. It's a very peaceful protest, but also to get attention to our cause. And a lot of these politicians have taken mushrooms. They've done other in their lives.
For Dana Larsen, the next step in the fight against addiction should be wider legalization and market regulating. Local officials seem to partly agree to the approach. While many Western countries start legalizing soft, Canada takes a step further. In January 2023, the officials decriminalized the possession of stuff in small doses, up to 2.85 grams of opium. 2.85 in general, meaning if it's for personal usage only, rather than for sale, the police won't take you to court. So far, the approach is liable in one province only, namely in British Columbia. The amount of cases involving police dropped by 77% within the first 9 months. Small drug seizures dropped by almost 96%. That doesn't mean decreasing of usage, as the number of people seeking treatment and overdose prevention remained unchanged. But the number of handed out naloxone kits increased noticeably. It's a medicine for diffusing or injecting used for OD treatment. Namely, it's an antidote. Then again, the streets speak for themselves. I'm walking around the downtown and there are lots of addicts all around me. Lots of people argue against the liberal approach. Brian Davis is the president of Gastown Residents Association. He claims the current policy destroys the city.
The concept of destigmatizing hard drugs when at the same time we stigmatize cigarette smoking just seemed very strange to me. What has happened is it's been shown to be a disaster. What we wound up with was people, using a blowtorch in like public parks and in middle of the street and wherever they felt like it, across the street from schools. So there was an attempt to sort of reel that part in, that okay, you can't smoke, it's not completely open, you can't smoke near a school. I think we've become the national joke for having done that, and the premier of this province just apologized for it last week, said it was ridiculous. It was a bad idea. I'll leave you one thought on this, that what we did is decriminalize hard drugs for personal use. I'm told by someone, I'm not a user, so I'm not an expert on this subject, but I'm told by someone that the quantity for personal use was actually very high. In other words, it was enough that, say you're a college student or something, it would be enough to go to a party and to sell off to a bunch of people. Like, it was quite a lot. But the decriminalization was from 18 years of age onward. And yet it's not legal to smoke a cigarette here until you're 19. So literally, when you're 18, you could legally but not legally smoke tobacco. And that's insane. That sends a message to future drug users, especially kids.
Here's an OD case. The medical team came to rescue the guy while others keep on getting high. Dr. Mark Tyndall has seen this 1,000 times. For him, it's a standard routine.
They sort of wake up with oxygen, and then the fire department or the paramedic either talk them into going to hospital to see how they're doing, or they just wake up and walk away. So the streets are full of this all the time.
Why don't they go to the hospital?
What's going to happen? They're going to sit there, they'll have to wait, and then they'll do a few tests maybe. They're fine, once they get Narcan or once the drug wear off, they're back to where they were. And so there should be a system where then they're offered, a bed and try to connect with them, but there's just not those facilities around. So most people, even if they decide to go to the hospital, will just stay there for a few hours and then come back.
The widespread use of drugs is a social phenomenon. The officials deal with it through harm reduction approach, which invokes debates within one Vancouver neighborhood. What led to such pressing addiction problem in prospering Canada? I discussed it with Tanya. She's a social worker in a Vancouver shelter helping homeless people, including addicts.
Imagine a mob standing on a cliff with something pressing them from behind. Those nearest to the water will fall down. Now there are some boats floating down there, searching for people who'd fallen down, helping them get in the boat and saving their lives. Those people in the boats, those lifesavers, are hospital staff, outreach workers, folk who, as you say, hand out stuff at stalls and in clinics. That thing pressing people from behind is the social factors, such things as racism and so on. There are many members of First Nations and Eastside. The number's disproportionate. There's systematic factors affecting it. On the level of the government, they should prevent them from falling down. Instead, the government is like, here's the money for bigger boats. That's our healthcare system. There are lots of nonprofit organizations participating and basically doing all the work. It's not their job, rather the job of the government, a different level of responsibility. I'm a frontline worker. I meet people who put excessive effort and do their best to help those people. We often come up with rather creative solutions. But people keep falling down, and we're already short of boats. The main reason is affordability.
Are you aware of Vancouver real estate prices?
Yes.
As a result, after the pandemic, we see the increase in the number of people who, upon retirement, find themselves with no money for rent payments. Many residents don't own any property and keep renting something. Then comes a crisis. They're retired and have nowhere to live. As a general matter, people get addicted after becoming homeless, not the other way around.
Garth Mullins is an ex-addict and an activist. He confirms that homelessness often precedes addiction.
The people who are on the streets around here are on the streets because we don't have enough housing in Vancouver. And it costs $2,500 for an average apartment here, right? That's too expensive for a lot of people. So every place where you have expensive housing, you're gonna have people without houses. It's just gonna happen. A lot of people are on the street here too because the cheapest housing in Vancouver is just one tiny room, no living room, nowhere to be. So a lot of people just go outside so they can socialize and be with other people. But you're right, there are people hurting. And if you go up and down the street and you ask, a lot of people would either want to go to treatment or they have been through it several times before. So we got to start asking ourselves what works and what doesn't work. The methadone program, for example, I'm on that. That's a type of treatment. It works pretty good. We got to expand that and let more people get to it. We got to make it less humiliating and more helpful.
Besides talking, Garth takes part in solving the problem. He showed me around the Vancouver Network Users. It's an association created and managed by addicts. They help each other and advocate their rights.
This is a meeting in progress here, so we'll just leave them be. Okay. Totally, 100%, all you. Sorry. This is a Western Aboriginal Harm Reduction organization. They're getting ready to do outreach to go give people supplies and help, you know. Another meeting room there, bathrooms. Some offices down there. Yeah, there's a few organizations that work out of here, out of this building. We're all under the umbrella of the Vancouver Area Network of Users. It's like a union for people who use drugs.
Everybody can
Union? What union dues do we get?
We pay union dues. We're supposed to pay them. This is Delilah. She's one of the people who holds this place together. This is Ilya, a journalist from Russia.
Wow.
And this is Lorna, who I introduced you to before. This is Tracy, one of our past leaders who's died in 2017. Tracy Morrison. Died from overdose. Yeah. You can see pictures here and there of people who have died. We pull out chairs and hold meetings and general sort of member meetings in this room. We're going to do that. My group's going to do that at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
portraits, it's the people who...
Yeah, these are more people who died. Yeah, this guy's Charlie Boyle, used to be the treasurer of our group. I don't want to tell you, everybody, it's too sad. This is supplies, harm reduction supplies, cleaning supplies, stuff like that. This is a room where we also have meetings in here. It used to be an injection room. You know, we run out of funding to do that, but a supervised injection site. So, yeah, that's about it, really.
What's your experience with it?
I guess I used for, well, I don't know, started when I was about 19. And partway through that, I started using, which is also an, but it's prescription, you know, and so now that's mostly what I do.
And what the reason? Why did you start?
You know, trauma from when I was a kid. You know, coming up, someone took care of me who shouldn't be in charge of children, let's say, and I just feeling like I didn't belong and all that. You know, I didn't get very good information about drugs when I was at school or HIV or anything like that. You know, so I started before I knew what was going on. You probably came here in an airplane, right? It has seatbelts on it. That's harm reduction. It's an attempt to reduce the negative impacts from a certain activity, right? Like your plane crashes, a seatbelt's not going to save your life, but there's a lot of situations which it'll reduce injuries, and there's a bunch of other harm reduction type principles in aviation to try and make it safer. Same thing around here, right? Like needle distribution, for example. There was a huge outbreak of HIV/AIDS here in the 90s, the biggest outbreak anywhere outside of sub-Saharan Africa. And that was because we didn't have access to syringes, to new syringes. Now we do. We give them out downstairs. That's harm reduction.
Organizations like VANDU are a part of the help system. Its main element is the last stage before streets, the shelters. What do Canadian shelters look like?
It depends. Some people wouldn't stay in shelters. They take it as confinement. They can't smoke or shoot up whenever they want, as certain rules apply to shelters. Smoking is prohibited in there, as it's too fire hazardous. So it's strictly prohibited. People end up homeless for many reasons. Say a family moved to Canada and the wife doesn't speak English. She has no documents, barely adapted herself here. Her husband starts beating her. She grabs her kid and runs out. There are shelters for women who fell victims to domestic violence. In downtown Eastside, we have shelters on a first-come, first-served basis. People call to ask, any cots available? If we have, they use it. Come and sleep. Some shelters provide both dwelling and meals. There are also mixed-gender shelters with one room and rows of beds. Some provide rooms where you can stay for some time. On the bright side, some shelters have support services. It means they cooperate with social services, say with healthcare. If someone finds themselves in a shelter with no insurance, its workers will contact relevant social services to say, hey, that guy's sick, he's got no insurance and no papers. Let's consider it. The perfect case would be when we send a patient home from a shelter with a job and immaculate papers. That's what we do.
Yes, my friends, this is the Portland Hotel, our PHS for short. It's a center for the homeless and addicted in the very heart of downtown Eastside. In general, it's a large hotel with rooms for temporary dwelling. The hotel manages the first North America's Insight facility. I've shown it to you. It also provides meals for its clients. Anyone close to homelessness or fighting addiction and mental issues may come here, even those having problems with police or clinics. In here, no one diagnoses or judges you. No one demands quitting usage or starting treatment right away. First, they provide a dwelling for you, and only after that, help you deal with your issues. It all started in 1993. The Downtown Eastside Residents Association turned the hotel into a shelter and called it after Portland, an American city famous for its support for the homeless. It's located in Multnomah County with almost 15,000 homeless people. Both officials and volunteers assist them with dwelling, medicine, and employment. The Portland Hotel of Vancouver follows the same model. The staff provide the homeless with dwelling, meals, and medicine and help fight their addiction. The place looks horrible. I'd rather stay outside, but the thing is, as soon as I came up here, the security saw me and opened the door. No one asked me anything, no one checked my papers. Whenever you come up here, they're ready to let you in and help you. While the social system tries rescuing people, the drug market keeps unfolding. New substances replace the old ones, being more potent and unpredictable. In 2024, the Drug Analysis Service discovered 11 new psychoactive substances, new opioids, hallucinogens, synthetic cannabinoids, stimulants, and even sedatives. All these interfere with the government's fight against drug usage. Where do new types of drugs come from? Some arrive to Canada from abroad, others are devised in local labs. In there, designer chemists concoct new analogs for old substances. As long as new stuff's not on the blacklist, it's easier to sell and harder to track. The majority of the substances were invented in Ontario. A couple of them appeared in Quebec, one was invented in British Columbia. The most widespread newcomer is NDE, or norethonitazene. It's nearly 10 times more potent than every time a new dangerous substance appears in the province, the Drug Analysis Service informs the police and healthcare services in an attempt to constrain its distribution. The ingredients used to produce fentanyl are shipped directly to Canada from China and India via Post Aviation and in sea cans. Some of them are shipped through Mexico and US, where they're turned into ready-to-use right away. The main Canadian points of import are the ports of Vancouver, Montreal, Halifax, and the airports in various cities. Something drug-related is going on there. The guys are at odds over something. A dose, I guess. I'd better get out of here. Or next, they'll be at odds over my camera. The police of Canada keep raiding the streets and seizing something. In 2024, there were around 30,000 related arrests, with around 5 kilos of seized fentanyl. The amount could kill 2.5 million people. A while ago, the investigative journalist Sam Cooper made a discovery. The largest Canada's drug lab was a part of transnational route involving Mexican cartels in China. Back in 2022, the Canada Border Services Agency had warned Ottawa about precursor shipments, but Canadian government took no action. In October 2024, major raids uncovered half a ton of drugs, weapons, explosives, and armor vests. Mr. Cooper and his American sources suspect certain officials and policemen to have turned a blind eye to the problem, which brings on issues concerning corruption. Today's Canada is not merely a consumer market, but also a full production hub. The labs operate within the country. A year ago, in November 2024, the police raided the largest drug lab in Canada in Falkland, just outside Surrey. Were being concocted. The police have seized 54 kilos of fentanyl, 390 kilos of also and some. That would be enough for nearly 100 million lethal doses. There were also plenty of weapons, almost 90 items. Guns, rifles, AR-15 and submachine guns. Many of them were loaded. There were also various explosive devices, armor vests, and $500,000 of cash. In the end, the police arrested just that guy named Gaganpreet Randhawa, a Canadian of Indian origin. The others have yet to be uncovered. The network shipped cocaine and to Canada and abroad via the USA, laundered money, and even committed assassinations. A cheat, my friends. The crisis is estimated not only in lives, but also in gradual decay of neighborhoods. Speaking again of local environment, my friends, here's a fancy coffee house, and what we see here is shattered, nailed-up windows. 2 windows are covered with plywood. Someone obviously has shattered them. The windows over there are also broken. Let's keep on walking. It's the downtown, a fine, fancy street. Everything's closed, it says, for lease. I'm not sure it'll reopen or when it closed. I'm walking down the street. Everything's closed. We moved out. A couple of steps further, we moved out again. No one's here. Shattered windows, plywood, empty, for lease. Something's for lease across the street also. The owner of the store over there didn't want to tempt the fate and simply nailed up the whole shop window, grids. Couple of steps further, another store for lease. Should I go further? Let's give it a try. Something's gridded again across the street. Closed again. Something seems to have survived over there. It's a kind of gym. The gym's still standing. It's because they've got bows and crossbows. They stand up for themselves. Here's one more coffee shop. Someone's sleeping. A fabric shop, gridded up just in case. Another place for lease. Skis, snowboards, okay. An empty lot. Another gridded store. Yes, another gridded one. You can see the customers they have to work with. Here's the owner. He went in to make sure they don't steal anything. No, they're not here for stealing. The main thing they sell in the stores, working with such customers, is the blow torches and things like that. They mainly use their stuff by smoking it. The city reminds me of San Francisco. It used to be my favorite city before it started becoming extinct. You see, everything's for lease, everything's empty over there. According to Brian Davis, the last few years have been the most difficult.
At its worst, so the worst being sort of, 2020, 2021 in there, 2022, it was a real problem. COVID had already hurt tourism here. As mentioned, this is a tourist area. So no area of Vancouver was hit as hard by COVID as Gastown was. So once things started opening up again and tours started coming, Gastown was really, really beat up. And I mean by smashed windows, by vandalism, by, people on the streets, and it was really beat up. And those messages got out by the tourists via tourist sites and saying, don't bother coming here, it's an absolute disaster. So that really hurt tourism in Vancouver. The last couple of years, things have gotten better. There's been a lot of effort by the current government to revert back to how it was. One of the things we've been doing the last couple of summers is doing like street parties on the weekends and things like that. So people are starting to come back now. It's heading in the right direction. But as we're kind of pushing back, my fervent belief is that we have to continue that work, or it could just implode back again.
Outside the disaster area, life still goes on. For many people, Vancouver's not about crisis, but about dreams. My friends, I have something to tell you besides addicts. There are lots of good things in Vancouver. This neighborhood is called False Creek. It's a bay with promenade areas, cycle lanes, downtown and North Shore mountains view. Life is in its full swing. There's the science world right in the center of it. It's an interactive science museum loved by both kids and adults. You can toy around with physics and various scientific things. False Creek also means water. In summer, it hosts kayaks, subboards, dragon boats, and various festivals. That makes the neighborhood lively and bright. Next, there's Granville Island with fish market, stores, cafes, and street performers. Tourists and locals enjoy themselves here and don't worry about a thing. Yes, there are such places in Vancouver. Not all of it is flooded with homeless and addicts. And there's one more thing. An Olympic village built for the athletes of the Games 2010. Then it was turned into a fancy neighborhood full of condos, restaurants, and breweries. You can eat, stroll, or simply enjoy the surroundings. In general, Science World and False Creek represent different kind of Vancouver, bright, fancy, and amiable. Science intertwines with recreation, sport, and culture. The coastal life looks splendid, just the way we love it, my friends. Let's walk around a bit and enjoy the quite peaceful and steady life. Check out the infrastructure. Clear markings, cycle lines, made for people, not cars, just the way I like it. Here's the water view. Life here is different. Small bright boats, private motorboats. The view, the creek, mountains, and the neat coast make the city feel different, like a space where you can breathe freely. Vancouver is a remarkable city. The contrast is stunning. 200 meters away, and here are drug shops, people high with and speeding ambulances, ODs, and zombies. And here's a peaceful park with playing kids, tidy and quiet. Just look at those neat houses. It's amazing. Greenery all around, glass doors, no gridded windows, a completely different life. All sirens and flashers remained back there, leaving the place in peace. I'd like to confirm the things my speakers have said. The problem of homelessness and addiction is clearly local. It's concentrated in certain blocks, several kilometers of one street. Everything's accumulated there. But a couple of steps away, and here's a simple, quiet life. It's worth mentioning, as many of my viewers may think the whole city of Vancouver is stocked with addicts. Not the whole of it. Downtown only. A couple of blocks over there. The rest of Vancouver is a gorgeous city full of greenery. Let's check out the street art, my friends. Okay, I wanted to enjoy the street art, but all I see is a junkie mixing a dose. Okay, here are some very good works. Oh my, here's another good work. I almost turned the corner and missed another classy work. It's something abstract looking goof though. There are some awesome works. There are tidy streets, scampering kids, and cycle lanes on the one hand, and there's downtown flooded with addicts on the other hand, like a tumor on the city's body. Vancouver, like other cities of Canada, hasn't found the treatment yet. The thing is, Vancouver chose the edgiest way, and it seems no one likes the consequences. But Deborah Bailey, who lost her daughter to drugs, believes this stage needs to be overcome without changing the strategy.
Many are, and we call it a stigma. So it's like people who use drugs are you know, second-class citizens, and if they could stop if they wanted to. There's a choice, and so they're very nasty in a lot of ways to people who use drugs and to their parents. Like I've experienced some of that too. Where, but I knew, because addiction didn't run in my family, that it wasn't a choice for Ola. Maybe the first time she took it, it was a choice, but after that, in a few times, she was just biologically hooked, like it was wrapped into her brain. It's like, you know, you can't stop thinking about it, and you know you're going to get sick if you don't get some. And most people don't understand that. They think it's just a choice. Well, you know, you could stop. And the same, you know, alcoholism is addiction also. And they've never figured out that, no, an alcoholic doesn't really want to lose their job, their wife, their kids, their home. They've got this dragon that they're fighting. That we are not particularly good at studying. So hopefully we'll get better, but it's an enormous number of people that have had to die.
A plan of action, or a mark of shame, a chance for a new life, or an indifference, death sentence. The extremes fight for the right to see a person behind an addict. What should those who observe the war do? It seems they have to make the simplest and the hardest choice, to never get involved. I'd say for certain, if you want to protect yourself or your kids from drugs forever, if you want them to never even think of trying it, take them to cities like Vancouver, San Francisco, or Los Angeles. Show them what it can lead to. Some may say I'm an old grumbler and everything's fine, but I'm sure nothing related to drugs can ever end up well. There's no controlled usage. There are no secure doses. Sooner or later, all junkies end up on the streets looking like rotting zombies. It's horrible. Some of my friends have died of drugs, you know, and all of them were unanimous. When I pleaded them to stop, they were like, "It's under control. I'm sure of it. I know what I'm doing. I'm fine." And everything. A typical addict's harangue. They swallow and shut up some and then simply rot away and die of OD in the end. That's horrible, my friends. Don't ever try it. My friends, I walked along Vancouver streets and showed you the most horrid things in the seemingly prosperous city. The contrast is hard to ignore. On the one hand, we see fancy neighborhoods, cafes, and galleries. A pleasant way to see the whole country. On the other hand, still waters run deep. Hundreds of Canadians die of drugs. It's a nationwide problem. I'm used to seeing this in poorer countries where plenty of people lead a miserable life, but the plague of drugs seems to strike even prosperous countries. Anyone can die of other substances regardless of their bank accounts. The way they deal with it in Canada is disputable. Their over-liberal approach can't guarantee fast results. Someday the officials may start a drastic fight with the plague. Either way, the problem takes a long time to solve. Let's hope Canadians come up with a way to live both happily and securely when people enjoy themselves and don't die of OD in dark lanes. My friends, subscribe to the channel and click like. Follow my journeys and make sure you've subscribed to the channel. This way you won't miss my new videos.